It's an uncomfortable topic for most, but as the saying goes, nothing is certain except for death and taxes. And unfortunately for most, estate planning sits in that uncomfortable intersection between building your wealth and also mortality. And understandably so, a lot of people are reluctant to speak about it, whether it's close friends or close family or even over coffee. It's not an easy topic to speak about.
Mm.
The one thing that we can't ignore, though, is the statistics. It's something that we've shared before on the program that 70% of wealthy families lose their wealth by the second generation, and as much as 90% by the third generation.
Yeah.
That is alarming. It's from what I understand, it's regardless of investment planning, but rather an issue around estate planning.
Mm.
What are your views on that, and based on your experience?
So, in our experience, what we tend to see a lot is that the first generation focuses a lot on wealth generation. So, they tend to be very entrepreneurial. And a drawback of this is that tax planning and estate planning falls by the wayside. Now, the importance of a comprehensive estate plan cannot be understated because your will essentially dictate the tax implications upon the passing of that wealth, but secondly, also how your heirs inherit that wealth. And what I mean by that is, do they receive their inheritance in their personal capacity? Is that appropriate? So, are they spendthrift? Are they financially astute? Are they minors? Do you need to think about things like spousal protection? And often, what is quite a nice tool to bring in there is to consider, do we need to utilize a South African trust here or an offshore trust? Like, what would be suited? And the reason for that is that a South African trust is less used for the tax benefits in South Africa. It's more used for the softer benefits, such as it's a wealth preservation and succession planning tool, but it also provides you with creditor protection. Assets can be administered by your trustees for minors or for persons that are mentally incapacitated. So those softer benefits cannot be overlooked. Secondly, bringing your family into the conversation with you so that they can understand what your wealth philosophy is. So they can also be educated as you are with your financial advisors, trustees, etc. That's quite important. Thirdly, I often find that clients don't understand the implications of their marital regimes. So, on death or of dissolution of your marriage, so for example, on divorce, your wealth can take quite a significant haircut. So that is quite important to bear in mind.
Where does the average person actually go to actually start understanding, or for someone to actually guide them in terms
Yes,
of putting the professional team together, in
yes,
terms of saying, this is when you should have a will, this is what should be included in it,
yes.
and as far as going through trust?
I would say the starting point would be your financial advisor because your financial advisor has a holistic overview of your affairs and they'd be able to guide you with regards to your specific facts and circumstances and point you in the direction of the relevant professionals that you need, be that a tax expert, a structuring expert, trustees, etc.
And just going back to obviously dealing with death, um, how would you summarize some of the tax implications that we can all expect when a family member passes away?
Yeah.
There's a number of things, what state duty comes into it, capital
Mm,
gains tax,
yes.
and understand there's a whole host more.
Yes, of course. So, importantly, each South African tax resident gets an estate duty abatement or a deduction of 3.5 million, right? To the extent that that is not used. So, if, for example, if you are married or in a lifetime partnership, if you bequeath everything or leave everything to your partner, then essentially that abatement rolls over as well. And on the second dying spouse, a 7 million rand deduction or exemption will be available on the second dying spouse. And in our view, tax deferred is always tax saved. That being said, estate duty is levied at 20% on the value of your estate up to 30 million and 25% on the value of your estate which exceeds 30 million, which can be quite substantial. Now, importantly, death is also deemed to be a deemed disposal event. So there will also be capital gains tax at a maximum effective rate of 18%. Now, it sounds all doom and gloom, but I'm going to take us out of the frying pan and into the fire. So, for our clients that tend to invest offshore, it's important to bear in mind that in the same breath that South Africa has estate duty, other jurisdictions also have inheritance taxes. So, if you are investing offshore and you have exposure to direct equities or property immovable property, for example, then there may be their equivalent of estate duty levied. And in certain jurisdictions, such as the US or the UK, it could be as high as 40%. So it really is important to get advice and understand what you're investing in and what the impact that may have, the cumulative impact that may have on your wealth.
And look, you've mentioned a number of tax obligations that come out. The other issue that I'm seeing now is obviously liquidity becomes a major question, especially if you're not sitting with liquid assets and
Yes,
having your house, etc.
yes.
I mean, where does liquidity come from? What are some of the tips you'd be guiding people to build liquidity versus having to sell your family home just to in order for you to meet those tax obligations?
Important question. Something I didn't mention earlier is that during the estate administration process, let's say the main income provider has passed away,
Right.
their estate will be completely frozen. So you do not want to leave your loved ones in a space where they are destitute and have to beg, borrow, or steal to cover basic maintenance expenses, school fees, etc. So a life policy, for example, can act as a nice tool which will pay out to your heirs directly if you have nominated your spouse, your partner, or your children, for example, within a matter of days to provide them with that liquidity.
And that doesn't come into your estate for
Well,
taxation purposes.
that depends. So, generally, with life insurance policies, they are included as a deemed asset. But if you nominate your beneficiaries directly, then there will be no executive fees taken into account. Now, what's important is that often we find our clients that have substantial property portfolios. You don't want to find yourself in a position where you have to sell at an inopportune moment or find yourself in a forced sale because you need to settle taxes and liabilities. So, again, life insurance can act as a nice tool where you can nominate the estate and that'll pay those liquidities. If we had to think about our clients who are have their businesses in their personal capacities, for example, we can't again stress enough the importance of Keyman insurance, buy and sell policies, for example, because that can help with the ease of transition of a business. It can help with to ease the conflict because you may not want your family involved in that process at all. So life insurance is quite an pivotal tool when it comes to generating liquidity during estate administration process.
And I think that's quite a lot of information. It sounded like you do need a tax degree or some tax qualification, but it's good to know that you can consult financial advisors and they can help put you in the path.
Definitely.
In terms of summarizing, what are some of the parting words based on your experience that you'd want people to really, even if we forget the entire conversation,
Yes.
but some of the things that you really want them to remember on the back of this conversation?
I always put myself in my client's shoes. And what I would do is ensure that I have a comprehensive estate plan, have a comprehensive tax plan, ensure that I assess my liquidity position often, and make sure that I'm communicating with my family and bringing them along the journey with me. And again, on the estate planning, for example, make sure that your family know where your information is, whether it's a digital file, whether it's a physical one, so they aren't scrambling to find where your information is, because again, that could also lengthen the procedure and compound the emotional distress.
That's that sounds very basic, but a lot of us don't share our passwords or where we actually have all these policies and documents.
True, true. It's not that easy.
Yeah. Jill, I want to thank you for your time and thanks for sharing your expertise. It's been very valuable
You're
having this
very
conversation.
welcome. Thank you for the
Thanks,
coffee.
Jill.